Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 571, Must Be a Woe. Another theodicy, in many ways back to poems 135 and 313 and the power of opposites. We're also back to 126. You guys will remember this one. To fight aloud is very brave, but gallanter I know, who charge within the bosom the Calvary of woe, who win and nations do not see, who fall and none observe, whose dying eyes no country regards with patriot love. We trust in plumed procession, for such the angels go, rank after rank, with even feet and uniforms of snow. And then you guys will remember when we did 193, she says it this way: I shall know why when time is over, and I've ceased to wonder why. Christ will explain each separate anguish in the fair schoolroom of the sky. He will tell me what Peter promised, and I, for wonder at his woe, I shall forget the drop of anguish that scalds me now. The repetitions, we will be reminded, were powerful when we did that study. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hoping you worked through our set of introductory comments as well as our preceding 570 poems. We just finished with 570, I Could Die to Know. Now, in many ways, we're back to an argument that Emily has made a number of times in her poetry. Loss is required for the appreciation of beauty. Go back to our study of Keats and Ode on a Grecian Urn, for example, at learnstrong.net. We're also back to referencing again Christ on the cross and the idea that the only way to get to salvation is through suffering. In fact, this poem will prepare us for our study of 573. Must be a woe, a loss or so, to bend the eye best beauty's way, but once aslant it notes delight as difficult as stalactite, a common bliss were had for last. The price is even as the grace. Our Lord thought no extravagance to pay a cross. Now, in many of the discussions we've already had, we've pointed out that Emily is far more interested in the suffering of Christ than the salvation that suffering might produce through the form of a conversion experience. Not that she doesn't believe in that on some level. She's just more interested in the idea of the suffering. Notice her first word, the necessity of pain as a propedeutic. Must be a woe. Again, our big five. What does this text say about epistemology, what you can know, ontology, who we are, psychology, the study of the individual mind, sociology, the study of the collective root mind, and then there's that fifth one, theodicy. Why must there be pain and suffering in the world? Well, what is the classic theodicy text other than the biblical book of Job? And of course it is Milton's Paradise Lost, of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose taste brought death into the world, and all are what? Woe. Now we've given full lectures at learnstrong.net on the Milton passages of Paradise Lost. Notice, must be a woe. By the way, when we get to poem 572 next, it will be viewed through pain, same argument, right? The Calvary of woe, you'll remember, of 126 and of course 193. Must be a woe, a loss or so. Notice her, almost like her rhyme scheme here is almost like to make it seem insignificant, to bend the eye best beauty's way. In other words, the only way that we'll ever really appreciate the beauty is to see the ugly. They are symbiotic. Again, as we've said often about Emily's theodicy, when bad things happen, don't ask why did this happen to me, but rather why did this happen for me. But, she says, once aslant, she'll only use that word once in all of her poetry. It notes delight as difficult as stalactite. Go back to 128 for one other use of stalactite. And of course, notice delight and stalactite in the rhyming that happens here. In other words, a common bliss were had for less. The price is even as the grace. In 54 poems, Emily uses the word grace. And then to finish her argument with a word picture, our Lord, 7 poems, that phrase is used to reference Christ, thought no extravagance to pay, notice we go from price to pay, a cross. Now, when we get to poem 675, we'll come back to this study one more time when we get there. Essential oils are wrung, the attar from the rose be not expressed by suns alone. It is the gift of screws, the general rose decay, but this in lady's drawer makes summer when the lady lie in ceaseless rosemary. The idea that it's only with the pain, it's only with the suffering, it's only with the screw will you ever get the oils that will give balm. At 2a, this is the point then. The greater the suffering, the greater the bliss. At 2b, I'm interested in this rhyme scheme. That is to say, there is a simplicity of this poem, and yet the whole poem is about the power of woe. Right? When we get to poem 675, we'll come back to this, but we'll also come back to our study of 131. You'll possibly remember, besides the autumn poets sing a few prosaic days, a little this side of the snow and that side of the haze, a few incisive mornings, a few ascetic eves gone, Mr. Bryant's goldenrod and Mr. Thomas's sheaves, still is the bustle in the brook, sealed are the spicy valves, mesmeric fingers softly touch the eyes of many elves, perhaps a squirrel may remain, my sentiments to share, grant me, O Lord, a sunny mind, thy windy will to bear. Again, the last two lines, grant me, O Lord, a sunny mind, thy windy will to bear. It is that windy will, obviously, she's referencing here. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this, when it was a time that you had to deal with woe. And to what degree was it apropedeutic? Instructional. I hope so. Thank you.